How did you build a business while working full-time without losing your mind? If you're a working mom juggling a 9 to 5, trying to grow your side business and keep your house from looking like a toddler-led tornado hit it, this one is for you. Because let's be honest, we are constantly being told to work harder, to get up earlier, to buy another planner from Target, or to buy a big wall calendar, or to just get more disciplined. But here's the thing, I've tried all of that, and some of it just doesn't work long term for us as working moms. Hey, I'm Laura Davis. I'm a time management strategist, and I help moms who are working full time, growing a side business, and trying to balance motherhood at the same time. Before we get into today's episode, head over to thelauraddavis.com/workweek to dive into my free 5-day Master Your Workweek challenge. You'll learn how to tackle your to-do list Monday through Friday and ditch the overwhelm of being a working mom. So for today's episode, I want to share a couple of things. First of all, I want to give you the real version of my story, not just the highlight reel. I also want to talk about a really important turning point where truly everything changed for me. I also want to give you the exact strategies that helped me keep my sanity while building my business, and also how you can start getting your time and your energy back this week, right? Okay, so let's get into it. So you may have already heard the story about me at the fertility doctor's office and what that moment felt like back in 2017 when we found out that our only option for having kids was through IVF. If you haven't heard that story, here's the Cliff Notes version. So back in 2017, my husband and I were at our fertility doctor's office, and the doctor was basically like, your only option for having kids is IVF. Are you ready to take on basically a second full-time job type of commitment? And I panicked a little bit and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I can do this. I was already working full-time, very aggressively climbing the corporate ladder. I also had my stepdaughter, so I was already a working mom. And just the thought of IVF was very overwhelming. The shots, the procedures, all of the medications, all of the doctor's appointments, the blood draws, everything, and how strict of a schedule it had to be on, I was very nervous. But that was in 2017. Now, fast forward to 2021. I, of course, worked through all of that and developed my time management framework called the TMA framework from my time doing IVF, where I took all of these scientifically and research proven methodologies for managing your time, and I tweaked them so that they worked for working moms. So that was 2017. Fast forward to 2021. I was really ready to turn this into a business and really look at how could I transform this into something that could help as many women as possible. But I was also really deep in the trenches because I was working a very demanding corporate job in marketing strategy in healthcare post-pandemic. So it was a wild ride. I was also raising a family. You know, my daughter was young, and I also had my stepdaughter, my husband, and we wanted to spend as much time together as possible. And I was trying to grow this side business that I knew had potential if I could just find the amount of time I needed to actually work on it. And so every day, like, tell me in the comments if this resonates with you, because every day felt like a game of whack-a-mole. If you've ever taken your kids to an arcade, or if you remember going to an arcade as a kid, you know exactly what game I'm talking about, where it does not matter how fast you are, one of those little groundhogs are going to be popping up out of their hole and you are just not going to be able to get to them fast enough. And that's how life felt for me. You know, I would get through the workday. I would rush to Harper's daycare to pick her up. I would rush to my stepdaughter's school to try to get her at the same time. I would try to throw something together for dinner and then squeeze in some business time, either really early in the morning or really late at night. And it wasn't quality work, and it was also hindering my health. It was hindering my relationship with my family. And so even though I was doing all the things, I still felt really behind in everything. I felt behind at work. I felt behind in my business. I felt behind at home. I felt behind in my marriage and in my motherhood relationship with my kids. And on top of that, I felt guilty no matter what I focused on. Can you relate to that? I feel like if you are a working mom with a side business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I went back to the foundations. I dug deep into the time management strategies that I had been applying for the 4 previous years. I learned a lot of lessons during this time. I was very quickly reminded that the way we've been taught to manage our time wasn't built for us as women, let alone women who are moms. We work full time and we also want to have a side business. So it was another piece of the time management puzzle that I was determined to solve. And this played a huge part in the creation of the TMA framework as you know it today, because that framework was truly built for the busiest mom, the mom who has multiple kids, the mom who works full time, and the mom who's trying to run a business. My current version of the TMA framework was built for that specific mom, which is how I'm so confident that it will work for literally anyone. So let's talk about what I did differently and what you can try too. And this is really the truth that a lot of people on social media won't tell you, but I do not shy away from the truth. So I'm going to tell you the things that I wish someone had told me when I started my business working full time and being a mom, right? So just like, the truth of the matter is that working full time and having a business is not easy. This is not an easy thing to do. So I'm going to go through a couple of truths for you. And here are also some of the things that I started to do that helped me really get good and feel good about balancing my full-time career with my side business. So just like you cannot spend money that you do not have, right? So you cannot spend more money than you actually have. You also can't spend time that you don't have. So you cannot spend more time than you have. And this is why my first tip for you is to create a time budget, not just a to-do list. And I've talked about this before, but I feel like it's important enough to mention again. So I started tracking all of my non-negotiables, things like my corporate work hours, because those are non-negotiable, my sleep, that's also non-negotiable, and my family time, because that's also non-negotiable. And I looked at the time that I had that was truly left over. And here's a spoiler alert for you. It really wasn't that much time, but it helped me get really clear on what I could actually say yes to, especially when it came to my side business. I couldn't run my business like other women that I saw on social media who had support teams and worked full time in their business. I could not run my business the same way. I could not have the same business goals. So here's where I'm going to share something that is a little bit unpopular in the online business coaching space. If you work full time in a demanding career, it is likely unrealistic that you will have a 6-figure side business. I want to let that sit in for a second, because that is truly just the reality of it. Does it happen sometimes? Sure, of course it does. And it may even ebb and flow where like maybe sometimes you have that 6-figure year and then other times in your business you don't. But those women who are saying that they work full time and they have a side business that brings in 6 figures for them, that do it, if they're saying that this happens consistently for them, I also think that those women are likely burnt out and working nonstop, barely seeing their kids or their spouse. And I know that this is an unpopular topic, and I know that this might be hard to hear, because I am also in that realm of I love my side business, and it also has to be profitable and worth it for me to have the side business, right? Because otherwise it is just a really expensive hobby. But the truth of the matter is that when you work full time, your side business falls somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. You likely are not making 6 figures, but hopefully you're also not making zero. Hopefully you are still profitable. And that shows a successful side business is when you are profitable. So I don't mean to go on a tangent, but I feel like there are a lot of online business coaches who tout this, 6-figure business, and they're not giving you the full picture. So again, I don't share this to make you think that you shouldn't have a side business, right? But more to give you a realistic goal of your side business. Because when you are realistic, it is so much easier for you to be successful because you're living in the reality of your current circumstances in your current life. The reality is that most of the time, you're going to have to take a risk to leave your corporate job. If that's something you want to do, you don't have to. Before your side business is truly replacing your income, especially if you are a high earner in corporate America. So if you are a high earner and you have a dream of leaving your corporate job, there is going to come a point where you will have to take a risk to leave that safe income, that high earner income from your corporate job, and go into your side business full time, likely before you are consistently making 6 figures. Because I truly believe that there is not a healthy way to have both. To have a 6-figure business, to have the time that you need to dedicate to having a 6-figure business while also working a really demanding career in corporate America. Those two things cannot coexist in a healthy way. But this is also why it's so important to understand and believe why you created your side business, because it cannot just be money. It can't. I truly believe that I was put here on this earth to help women manage their time better and transform the way that they live their life, right? I also really love my corporate job, which is why I have strategically chosen to do both. But my business goals reflect the reality of the time budget that I have to give to my side business. I am not out here trying to have 6-figure months or 6-figure launches, because I know that the reality of my side business is that that is not doable right now while I'm working full time. And I love my full-time job and I'm unwilling to give that up. So I have strategically decided to realistically balance both and create real goals for both, not just the goals that I see other people on Instagram or TikTok creating for their businesses. So the second strategy I want to give you, I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but the second strategy that I want to give you is that I built in buffer time because life happens. So I stopped pretending that I could do 17 things in a 2-hour window for my business, right? Instead, I planned for ramp up and recovery time. And this is where, I have really looked at the energy expenditure that is required of the tasks that I'm putting on my calendar. And if it is a large energy expenditure, I'm giving myself time before that and after that to kind of recoup my energy. So a really good example is actually this week when this episode airs of this week, I will have a keynote speaking session that I am doing at a local conference called Empower Her, which I'm really excited about. And this keynote is on Wednesday. And so I know that Tuesday evening, I need to give myself quiet space. I need to just get in the zone. I need to be alone because I am about to do a keynote for 100 women, and that is going to be a large energy expenditure. Now, I also took the entire day Wednesday off of work for my corporate job because I know after that speaking engagement, I am going to be depleted of my energy, right? Like I love being around people. I get a lot of energy. I'm an interesting extrovert because I'm a shy extrovert where I get my energy from other people, but I'm also very shy. So I know that when I'm around people and I get all of that energy and I'm in that space, I also know that when I come down from that energy high, I need time to decompress. So I took the whole day off of work so that afterward I can respect my energy fluctuations and decompress from that big energy expenditure that I have Wednesday. So when you're looking at your tasks, make sure that you are evaluating the amount of energy and time that something is going to take you, and that you're giving yourself some ramp up and recovery time. The third strategy is that I stopped doing this alone. And this one is really big because I used to think that asking for help meant that I was not capable. But the truth is that women who ask for help are the ones who move faster. And this can be in your personal life, this can be in your business. So, for example, I delegated more things at home to Harper that are age appropriate. So maybe this is, her being responsible for cleaning up her room and putting all of her stuffed animals away where they go. Maybe it's her feeding the dog in the morning and in the evening. Giving her chores that I would normally be doing, but that are age appropriate for her. I also communicated better with my husband, Zach. I stopped trying to control everyone to do the things the exact same way that I would have done them, right? How many other people are guilty of that? I also leaned in to my mom offering to help with Harper's logistics. Now, granted, my mom is retired and she is loving being the full-time grandma, but I felt really guilty about this at first. And then I leaned into it because I was like, this is something for my mom to do. This is a really good way for her to spend her time. It's great for her relationship with Harper, and it allows me to open up some additional time to work on my business when I'm not at work. And then I also started automating things in my business so that I didn't have to do everything manually. Now, this could be its own podcast episode, but things like email funnels, lead magnets, pitching for podcast guesting or guest blogging, or being on news segments, things like that. And then I also, this is kind of like a little secret hack that I use that I do talk about a lot, but I feel like we don't talk about this enough. I use my corporate paycheck as an investor into my business so that I could strategically outsource high impact tasks like graphic design, social media scheduling, things like that. Now, I still write all of my content, but I have outsourced the things that I'm not good at that take a long time, like Canva. Get me out of Canva. I don't want to be in there ever. I hate Canva. I don't want to do graphic design, and I don't like scheduling social media. I will write it, but I don't want to create the posts, and I don't want to actually schedule it in my scheduling system. So most importantly, I have integrated all aspects of my life, so corporate, business, personal, into a strategic time management system. And I live and breathe this framework every single day. And I do that because this way, when I am, outsourcing something for my business and I'm paying with it from my corporate salary, it's not necessarily because I can't afford it in my business. It's more because outsourcing something in my business can lead to more free time in my personal life. So because I've outsourced scheduling social media, I actually get more time with Zach and Harper on the weekends because I'm no longer spending Saturday morning trying to get all of next week's content scheduled out, right? So integrating all of the different aspects of your life allow you to weave them together so that they can benefit each other. All right, so what happened when I implemented all of these different strategies together? My business has grown significantly. I stayed sane at work and increased my impact on the company. So I've actually been awarded recognition like Business Impact Award, which I got earlier this year. They only give them out twice a year, and only one person each time wins it. I'm in a Fortune 100 company, so there are thousands of employees. And to be able to have that type of impact while still doing all of the things that I want to do goes to show that this system works. I also was really present at home. I now play soccer with Harper or go for walks or whatever after work almost every single day. We cook dinner together all the time. I feel like I am closer to Harper than I ever have been, and my business is thriving and my corporate job is thriving. And then most importantly, I finally felt like I was me again. I was not just a task robot running on fumes. And, this is really where like my hobbies, like my horseback riding come in, my daily walks. And I feel like I am living my true self every single week. Was it perfect? No. Is it perfect now? No. But I'm able to, because I have this foundation and I have these principles that I live by, I am able to quickly course correct when things don't go the way that I want them to, right? Not only course correct my schedule and my calendar, but course correct my mind and my mentality. And do I still have hard weeks? Of course I do. This past launch for the April cohort kicked my ass. Like that, I don't know what it was. Mercury in retrograde, the eclipse season, I don't know, but it kicked my ass. But I have a system that I trust, and one that is flexible, and one that can ebb and flow when life gets chaotic, but it still moves me forward. And that is truly what has made all the difference. So if this resonated with you, if you're thinking like, okay, this is great, I need more of this type of thing in my life, I got you. Your best next step is to sign up for that free 5-day Master Your Work Week challenge that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, because this is going to truly help you conquer your never ending to-do list and create a work week that you actually enjoy and love. And so you can sign up for that at thelauraddavis.com/workweek. And I really hope to see you in there. I am in there all the time, helping, answering questions, giving you advice based on what you're asking me, things like that. And it's really going to help you do a couple of things. One, eliminate decision fatigue. It's also going to help you build a weekly to-do list that actually works for your real life. And it's going to help you finally feel in control of your time. It's practical, simple, and built for women just like us who are juggling all the things and trying to do it without losing our minds. So again, you can sign up at thelauraddavis.com/workweek. So I'm going to leave you with this today because I think you need to hear this. You are not lazy. You are not disorganized, and you are not failing. You're not failing in motherhood. You're not failing in business. You're not failing at life. You are operating inside of a system that was never designed for us as women and working moms. But you can create a system that is built for you. And you can start with your work week. And so that's why I really want you to sign up for that Master Your Work Week challenge. Again, that is at thelauraddavis.com/workweek. Now, a special little note here. Be sure to catch next week's episode because it is a special segment that I have created where I am answering real life time management questions that have been sent to me on Instagram or on some social media platform, or they are questions that I have found on Reddit, and I'm giving you my answer and my perspective of how I would answer that question. So I'm giving my real advice. I hope you tune in. Thanks for listening today, and I will see you in the next episode.